Hi there, my name's Sarah. I'm from Sarah Monteith Social Media Marketing, and I have been asked by Nigel at Sorry Digital to talk today about social media marketing in a global pandemic. So first of all, I just wanted to say a little bit about kind of why I'm qualified to talk about this. I started my career working for women's magazines in the advertising department. When I started, it was, I think, maybe a couple of years after Mark Zuckerberg had founded Facebook. It was still only to university students. And when I left working in the media to go set up my own consultancy, the majority of the briefs I was getting through was social media led, as opposed to print advertising led, event led, digital led. It was social media, and moreover, and this is why I kind of made the decision to switch, kind of take a slight change of course. It was because social media marketing was revolutionary. It was incredible. It was working so well. So brands like, Chanel, who have got such a long and established history working with print magazines, and will, no doubt, continue to do so, were investing staggering amounts in social media because it was doing phenomenally well for them. So I'm a big advocate in the power of social media when it's used well. So when Nigel asked me to do this, he basically asked if I could think of think of the questions that I'm being asked the most by my clients. And I must say the question I'm being asked the most is, what do I do? And this is kind of uncharted territory. None of us have lived through a global pandemic before. None of us have had to, turn our kitchen into our office, kind of not have kids running around all over the place when you're trying to work. It's, crazy times. And I think, first of all, no matter what your business is, you need to address that. Like, if you haven't already, absolutely address it. These are strange times. And then I think I've got, certainly based on the clients that I'm working with at the moment, they seem to kind of fall into three categories. There's kind of category one, which is people who are actually in a position to benefit from lockdown, from the pandemic, from this crazy situation. That is, for example, maybe they sell online courses anyway, they practice kind of business resilience, they're soap manufacturers, they're kind of homeschool resources, they're kind of already set up in a position to, it sounds unfortunate, but to do well out of this situation. In that case, it's just basically, they've got a message, they've got a service that's going to help people, so it's just how do we spread the word about that. And I'd say, social media. People are looking at their social media at the moment. I'm fortunate, two of my kind of regular clients both happen to be in that category, and both have actually just said that this last month, so March, has been their most successful month ever, their highest billing month ever, which is crazy, especially because for both of them, when everything was really going a bit mental, kind of mid-end of March, we struck it back. We just, the plans went out the window, and we were very reactionary. So we were there, we were visible, but we were towing that line of not jumping on all the bandwagons, sticking to the authentic message, but also being really mindful of what the situation is. And you do that by simple things: watching the news, reading the newspaper, being up to date with the current affairs so you can react to it, but also social listening. So seeing what other brands are doing, seeing what your competitors are doing, basically using your gut to kind of feel feel the zeitgeist and not put anything too jarring. I saw some really awful examples of people just not reacting, or brands rather, just not reacting quick enough to it, and it's having the guts to just go. Your social media manager's not going to be very happy, but it's literally throwing everything that you'd previously done out of the window in terms of your short-term plans, and just kind of basically dealing with it on a kind of more day-to-day basis, and kind of being mindful. So an example of that, so one of the clients that's doing really well, we'd kind of now, as I'm saying this, it's early April, and we kind of thought, oh, okay, let's, maybe next week we can do this, the luxury of scheduling a whole week's content, only for bless him, Boris Johnson to go into hospital and put in intensive care. And we thought actually quite a jokey post is maybe not quite right for the tone of when it was meant to go out. Maybe even later that day it might have changed, but it just certainly didn't feel right. So we kind of had to tweak that slightly. So I'd say if you're in a position to continue business more or less as normal, then absolutely do so. Keep be visible, keep showing up, keep selling, keep advertising, but probably pay a bit more attention to what's going on in the wider world, be it in the media, on social media, social listening, and respond with that in mind. I say don't jump on bandwagons, but things like the Wednesday evening clapping for the NHS, that stuff like that, that's not bandwagon, that's great. So that's what I say, if you're kind of in category 1, is absolutely keep doing it. Essentially what you're offering is something that can be a service and be a benefit to people. So I'd say, continue and just try and be as visible as you can at the moment. Social media is one of the few ways that you can actually get out in front of your potential customer. So that brings me on to the second group, and I think there's probably quite a lot of people in this where you maybe had to shut down part of your business, or you've had to do a bit of a pivot. So, for example, if you're a pub or a hotel that are now doing, like takeaway meals, and you kind of want to promote the fact that you're doing that, or for example, you're a wholesaler who's now looking like beauty products or maybe plants, given the lovely weather, and you're actually looking to get direct to the consumer, and you can operate on a kind of delivery or mail operator, or maybe some kind of online basis. So if you have got, again, I would say social media, people are spending a lot more time on it at the moment. This is a good place. It's a good place to be. It's a good place for you to inform people about how your business is having to adapt. Certainly if you're in the first pivot category, so the pub that's now doing takeaway meals, for example, then you already know who your core audience is, and you basically want to expand that. So it's kind of brand awareness exercise. And so things like competitions, tag an NHS worker for a free meal, things like that will kind of increase your following and get the word out that you are still there, you are still plugging along, trying to get food to people, make fun things, it's kind of like your Friday night, date night at home, things like that, as well as being very mindful of the current situation. You're letting people know and reiterating the kind of hygiene precautions that you're taking, so people feel safe doing that. I can't underestimate that enough. And I'd say that, if you've got, say you're only visible on one social media outlet at the moment, but that's working well for you, then there's no reason to add more if you don't want to. If one's working well, stick with it. Then that talk about more to do with that in a bit, but I'll talk about very briefly the second pivot. So say you're trying to reach a new audience now. So say, for example, you were a wholesaler, so you're quite, business to business, and you're now trying to reach a consumer. Well, first of all, I would be hoping that you've actually got nice relationships with your kind of core businesses, so be it hair salons, garden centres, etc., etc. If there is not a direct competition, so thinking, for example, with garden centres, if you're trying to sell direct to the public and the garden centre is still trying to absolutely ask the garden centre to kind of help promote your posts, so that's liking, sharing, tagging in, or kind of finding a way of joining forces that you can do that. So talking, questions and answers. Again, with beauty products, say you supply to a hair salon, for example, or beautician, would be actually telling the salons to, on their social media, a lot of salons have really good social media, telling them to direct people to you, or giving them the opportunity to keep selling your products via them, so they can, it depends kind of what their how they're structuring it. But I'd say first of all, use your kind of warm contacts, even if they're not the people that you want to actually be purchasing it, but because they're essentially the middlemen, they will know those people, they will have those audiences. So then there's the next step, is you look at their audiences, you see who are they attracting. Is it, I'm in Surrey, so kind of premium hair salon, for example, you've wholesale premium hair masks. So they are probably attracting, kind of women AB, so kind of higher earning thresholds, women AB, and that's kind of, use how they're promoting it as a basis of how to promote those. I'd certainly say this is an example where advertising would be very beneficial about getting out there in terms of what we call, so you can target that particular, that particular demographic really effectively. And you're probably in quite a lucky position that they probably will be quite familiar with your product, just not that it comes from you. So the job's half done. It's just kind of letting them know that it is available. So those are the businesses which are slightly pivoting. That then brings me to the final category, and that's businesses that, for whatever reason, had to shut up their shop altogether. So, for example, I work with a business that does kind of aesthetics, so that's kind of beauty, permanent makeup, that type of thing. And there's no way they can keep the clinics open at the moment. It's not safe for them, it's not safe for clients. Where's your work around that? I mean, I'm not an accountant, so I don't know the ins and outs of the furloughing, the government-backed furloughing rules. By the sounds of it, they sound pretty good. I don't know, I've not looked into it. But I would really recommend, take the time to do the jobs that you've meant to do, and the jobs that you need to do for all of us are things like get that website improved, improve the SEO. It's, you just put, I'll do my website, I'll sort my website out, and it never quite gets done. So, put the feelers out there, do your research into what you want, get an idea of the branding, get an idea, kind of just do some research, see what you like, look into people, SEO, look at people like Nigel, who actually knows what on earth that is and what they're doing, because the rest of it blows our minds. In terms of social media, your long-term strategy is still going to be sound. Like one day the world will go back to normal, so your kind of long-term strategy, it might be pushed further along, but it's still going to be good. So it's kind of look to see about how your social media can tie into that, maybe come up with kind of content, use programs like Canva to come up with content, templates, ideas, fake content plans even, I'd say you could go so far to do, so that you've got an idea. And as I say, there is something in it if, the laws allow actually being visible on social media, so people know that you are still there. You're just, homeschooling, sunbathing, doing all the, nice things you get to do on furlough, if there are any nice things to do on furlough. But yeah, it's also, kind of looking at things like, again, things that you want to do, so kind of email marketing, look at programs like MailChimp, things like that you do want to do. So I do think, kind of in terms of marketing in the kind of pandemic, my kind of two main things I'd like you to take away from this are, first of all, where's your business, and also your individual circumstances. You might actually have a business that there is quite an obvious pivot, but if you're a mum of 4 school-age kids and they're all like going mad and Joe Wixpee isn't enough for them and things like that, then actually it's maybe not worth your time to do that, or you've kind of got to judge it based on your business, your individual situation. And the thing I'd like you to take away from it is, do carry on promoting your business, do carry on selling if that's kind of the tack that you're going to take. But be mindful of the situation. Do, kind of use your intuition, use your gut, and kind of don't, if, there's some like major bad news, be prepared to just pull what you're going to do and just stay quiet for a couple of days. If you don't know what to post, but actually things are just, in the pandemic world, ticking along nicely, just have a go. What are you doing today on day 3057 of lockdown? There's room for humour. There's room, you've seen all the kind of all the gifs and memories and stuff that are going around at the moment. There is space for humour. So you kind of find what you look at competitors, see what they're doing, and you kind of find that voice and find how you can talk. You might not get it right every time. It's an unprecedented situation, but I think there's certainly, be frank about that and say, and yeah, and say so. It's, uncharted territory for all of us, but I'd really like to wish you the best of luck. And if you do have any questions, I'm on my social medias at Sarah Monteith Social, and that's Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. Really neglected, I'm really sorry. Or obviously via Nigel at Sorry Digital. And if you've got any more, I'm going to do another one of these soon, more specifically on advertising. But if you've got any questions in the meantime, please do let me know. Thank you.